ए शट अप या कुणाल
Shut up, yeah, Kunal.
चुपना ए कुणाल चुपना
Shut up, yeah, Kunal.
ए शट अप या कुणाल
Yeah, Kunal.
So welcome to Shut Up Ya Kunal. I've been trying to have you on the show for a long time. I'm happy that you finally came on.
But you've come to Bangalore, so since
It's
Mountain has come to Muhammad, so I have to.
absolutely. So we'll start with you've been carefully documenting history of modern India. While documenting it, did you ever feel that we would be so close to a Hindu Rashtra?
I never felt we would be so close to a Hindu Rashtra, Kunal. But in my book, India After Gandhi, the first edition published in 2007, I do say that, so long as Pakistan exists as an Islamic state, principally for Muslims and sometimes exclusively for Muslims, there will be a pressure in India to make it a Hindu state, principally or exclusively for Hindus. And it really depends on the political class. Are they able to resist it? And of course, the history of, I was looking at partition and the residues and the scars of partition. But of course, it goes back much longer too.
देखिए, अगर बीजेपी को 5-6 शब्दों पर रोक लगा दी जाए और बीजेपी के नेताओं से कहा जाए तुम 2 मिनट बोलो, एक पाकिस्तान, एक मुसलमान, एक आतंकवाद, एक राम और एक धर्म, इन 6 शब्दों पर रोक लगा के बीजेपी के किसी नेता से कहो तुम बोलो, वो मंच से नीचे उतर जाएगा।
अभी इन्होंने एक बात कही कि इन्होंने, हाँ बिल्कुल करी, इन्होंने कहा कि इन्होंने भूगोल बदल दिया था। आपने भूगोल, अरे हमारे भारत का ही भूगोल बदल दिया था। किस पार्टी के अधिवेशन में प्रस्ताव पारित करके पाकिस्तान बना था? और मैं युवा पीढ़ी को बताना चाहता हूं, ये वही लखनऊ है, ये वही लखनऊ है जहां 1916 में, अब मैं इससे बैठा नहीं, मैं जवाब दे रहा हूं, सुनिए ना, अरे भाई मैं आ रहा हूं ना,
पाकिस्तान आ गया।
सुनिए, अब मैं बता रहा हूं, हिंदू पाकिस्तान शब्द किसने प्रयोग किया? हमने या शशि थरूर ने। हिंदू तालिबान शब्द किसने प्रयोग किया? हमने या शशि।
ब्रो, अगर पाकिस्तान नहीं होता तो पेट्रियोटिक होता क्या? मैं कभी सोचा नहीं रे इसके बारे में।
Obviously, as a Democrat and as a pluralist, I don't like the word secularist because it has, it's too, what do you call it? It binds you in a rope. Pluralist means कोई भी नागरिक हो, वो अपने विचार सामने रखे और विचार कैसे भी हों, धर्म के बारे में और संस्कृति के बारे में, भाषा के बारे में, क्रिकेट के बारे में, फिल्म के बारे में, लेकिन अहिंसक तरीके से रखे. That is a pluralist. Freedom of expression expressed non-violently. I thought because I'm a pluralist and I have lived in many parts of India. मेरी पैदाइश देहरादून की है और मैं हूँ वैसे तमिलनाडु कर्नाटक का, और मेरे घर में कभी ऐसा नहीं था कि कोई हिंदू है, कोई मुसलमान है, कोई ब्राह्मण है, कोई, बिल्कुल नहीं. So my family background was also one that predisposed me, you could say, to hope, optimism. आप कह सकते हैं this is naive कि पूरा भारत मेरे घर जैसा नहीं था. और जब मैंने अपना काम शुरू किया एज ए हिस्टोरियन, जब मैं रिसर्च करने लगा तो गांधी जी, नेहरू, अम्बेडकर, इन लोगों को भी मैंने ज़्यादा लिखा है. सो दैट ऑल्सो मे हैव since these are the great you could say figures in my narrative, and they're all trying to build a tolerant, inclusive, at the same time prosperous and peaceful India with respect to all the religions, all the languages, all the regions, and attentive to inequality, particularly of Dalits and women, and trying through constitutional methods to remove them. All of this, my scholarly work, my personal background, may have made me, in retrospect, excessively optimistic.
You said you are not a fan of the word secular, but at the same time you mentioned having a society that's tolerant.
Yeah.
So how do you differentiate between the two?
Well, it's a difference between secular kind of often implies a hard line attitude towards religion, that it must only be in the private sphere. Whereas Gandhiji believed, I'm a Hindu, you're a Christian. So for example, his closest friend, Gandhi's closest friend, bilkul unka jigri dost, his absolutely closest friend was a English Christian priest called C.M. Andrews.
Yeah.
And they had a lifelong conversation in friendship that continued till Andrews' death over 30 years, almost 30 years. And he always said, my job is not to make Charlie a better Christian, a better Hindu, not to make him a Hindu, it is to make him a better Christian. His job is not to convert me to his faith. It is to make me a better Hindu, which means through interfaith dialogue, you understand that your religion is not monolithic. कि एक ही लाइन नहीं है, एक ही शंकराचार्य नहीं है, एक ही पोप नहीं है. and you can practice your faith in this plural way. I don't mind secular, but personally, I think pluralism is a more appropriate word for India. In the West, particularly in Europe, where religion is retreated from the private domain, public and private domain. लोग चर्च बिल्कुल नहीं जाते. Then you can say this has become a secular state. But I think given our extraordinary diversity, I mean, these are maybe definitional issues and I won't stress it. Essentially, what I would stress is India can only survive meaningfully if there is non-discrimination on the grounds of religion, caste, language, gender and region.
Secularism kind of shuts that door to conversation, which is not
With
ideal.
people of faith.
We spoke about being close to a Hindu Rashtra. Like you have a book, India After Gandhi, where it starts with saying that it's like there's nothing to record after we got independence, and that was your moment to kind of think about it and start documenting. If you start writing an India after Modi, what would that look like?
First of all, I will not write it.
Yeah.
Because it will have to be written after Modi goes.
Yeah.
And so Gandhi died in 1948. I started writing the book 50 years after he died.
Yeah.
So time has to pass. A historian has to assess kya hua, kya nahi hua. You know, immediately if in the swing of current events you judge something in a certain way. Like I was a college student in Delhi University during the emergency. I saw the emergency in a certain way. Then today, 50 years later, as a scholar looking at the records, I have some distance, I have a more objective view. But I will say not what India after Modi looks like, but what as a someone living in this country since 2014, what the BJP government has tried to do to reshape our society. So the first thing they've tried to do is, and I have to speak, this is the most important reshaping they've attempted, so I'll speak at some length, because it's linked to what constitutes a Hindu Rashtra. They have tried openly, not so openly, crudely, subtly, to make Muslims second-class citizens. And this is part of their core DNA. If you ask a communist, which is the most important ideological text for him or her, they will say Communist Manifesto. If you ask a Christian, they will say Bible. Now, and you ask a Muslim, they say Quran, right? Now, Gandhi, for example, wrote a book called Hind Swaraj, which is not all of Gandhi's thoughts, but his essential thoughts. So, non-violence and Hindu-Muslim harmony are core to the book he wrote. If you ask कि RSS वालों का Bible क्या है? It is not anything by an ancient Hindu seer or a great philosopher of the ancient period. It is a book published in this city, Bangalore, in the year 1966. It bears the innocent title Bunch of Thoughts, and it is by M.S. Golwalkar, who was the RSS Sar Sanchalak for 35 years. He built the RSS and gave it its ideological and organizational shape.
कई बार ये आरोप आता है कि आरएसएस एक सांप्रदायिक या फांसी
जिस संगठन के पास कोई दूसरा सैंक्शन है नहीं प्यार के सिवा, सत्ता नहीं, पैसा नहीं, कुछ लोग नहीं, वो कभी फैसिस्ट हो नहीं सकते, क्योंकि फैसिज्म डंडे के आधार पर चलता है. हमारे पास कुछ नहीं, कोई लॉ नहीं है हमारे पास फैसिस्ट को शाखा में आने के लिए बाध्य करने के. हम फैसिस्ट हो ही नहीं सकते, क्योंकि फासिज्म ऐसे किसी पावरफुल सैंक्शन के आधार पर चलता है. हमारे यहाँ केवल आपस के प्रेम का, अपने देश के दुखों की वेदना का सैंक्शन है, और कोई सैंक्शन नहीं.
नरेंद्र मोदी इनको माने अपना गुरु मानते थे. I mean, he used to idolize him so much that he would call him Pujyana Guruji. Everyone else would be, Head Gawarji, Vivekananda ji, but Pujyana Guruji. In fact, I would recommend to your viewers translation that Akar Patel did of Narendra Modi's article on Golwalkar, which was published in Scroll in English. Yeah. Now, if you look at Bunch of Thoughts, which is what Modi went away from home when he was quite young, and all his ideas come from the RSS. It comes from this book. In that book, Golwalkar has 3 chapters. Enemies of the nation 1, Muslims. Enemies of the nation 2, Christians. Enemies of the nation 3, communists. And the order is not accidental. Yeah. I have studied the RSS ideology, not just Golwalkar and Modi, but also kindred spirits like Savarkar, Hedgawar, Deen Dayal Upadhyay. I have watched them in action. My political baptism, you could say, was going to do a fact-finding report with a team from the People's Union for Democratic Rights after the Bhagalpur carnage of 1989-90. So I have studied this very carefully. And if you ask me कि आप आरएसएस के का जो विचारधारा है उसका एक समरी दीजिए. You give me a sound bite. It will be 6 words and no more. We shall show Muslims their place. अगर आप हिंदी में बोलेंगे या हिंदुस्तानी में, हम मुसलमानों को उनकी औकात दिखा देंगे. I think that becomes 8 words and not 6. Only slightly more. But nothing more, nothing less. That is what animates them. Let us humiliate Muslims. Let us taunt them, mock them, and say, not necessarily kill them. That could be a step that sometimes happens. But sometimes I don't, that's not a core part of their ideology. Unlike Hitler, where exterminating all Jews was a core part of his ideology. Here it is, make them feel humiliated, cowed down, submissive, so that they can live in our Rashtra at our mercy. जो हम कहते हैं वही कर सकते हैं और कुछ नहीं. That is why of the 900 odd MPs elected by the BJP in 3 successive general elections, there is not a single Muslim, and so on and so forth. You can see when I was growing up, I'm much older than you, when I was growing up, and I grew up post-partition. But if I was look at the 70s and the 80s, the 70s when I was a student, the 80s and the 90s when I was a young scholar and academic, Muslims were prominent in many areas of public life, not just in politics. Of course, we have had home ministers who are Muslim, defense ministers, finance ministers, but in the science community, in the legal fraternity, among writers, among entrepreneurs, among corporate executives, the top firms would not say कि ये मुसलमान है इसको नहीं देंगे नौकरी. अब वो कहेंगे because उनको डर आएगा कि गुजरात, in a place like Gujarat, they would be worried. We even had, of course, people know about Muslims as chief justices, but also as foreign secretaries, as head of the IB. So I think this is, and at every level, there may be a certain token Muslim who, for strategic, opportunistic reasons, joins the BJP. There have been a few Muslim intellectuals in North India who have done that. But overall, that is their philosophy. We shall show Muslims their place, not necessarily by killing them, but by humiliating them.
Even the followers of the RSS would kind of be alarmed to know that we are putting some person who's Hegdewar or his work Golwalkar against texts like the Bible, the Quran, the texts that are so sacred.
Yeah.
And it's not like we don't have the literature of Mahabharata.
No, but see, वो तो ठीक है, हाँ. लेकिन ये जो a normal RSS worker, Mahabharata, Ramayana, he may know some basic elements of the story. But great Hindu philosophers of the even modern day Hindu philosophers, have they read Radhakrishnan? No. Have they read Surendranath Dasgupta? No. Have they read, even Swami Vivekananda, if they read they'll find he says things that are radically opposed to what they believe in. So it's kind of it's really a boiled down version of Golwalkar that they get. So the subtleties and beauties of course, Hindu philosophy, but also the subtleties and beauties of ancient Indian art and music and architecture is all completely lost. It's a really very debased form of Hinduism that they adhere to and practice, but also a very dangerous one because it is based not on joy for me, but suffering for somebody else.
Yeah. Why does this interest people of today, where we see the world very differently from where we saw it in partition? How are we like 1/10 communal during partition and we're like 10x communal now? If I'm right, 6% of the people at that point voted for polarization, while 94% of the people voted against polarization.
Did not vote.
Yeah.
Often did not vote. The point was, the franchise was very restricted. So the vote for partition among the Muslim intelligentsia and the middle class was a very tiny proportion of the whole vote. Yeah. So why this has happened? Of course, part of it is leadership. You need an enlightened leader. Nehru was following not Golwalkar but Gandhi. Right? Yeah. And in some respects, he was not following Gandhi. For example, his economic philosophy may have been slightly different from Gandhi's. But if you look at his writings immediately after independence, look at his letters to chief ministers, look at his speeches on Independence Day or on Gandhi Jayanti, they are repeatedly emphasizing whatever Pakistan he is saying, whatever Pakistan does to its Muslim minorities, which is essentially Hindus and Sikhs. Whatever indignities Pakistan heaps on them, we have to treat our Muslim minority in a civilized way as equal citizens. So he knew the dangers. And he, again, to go back to what I just said, Kunal, you know, politicians operate in two registers. Either they offer potential voters hope or they offer fear. Nehru was not saying fear. He was saying, don't, unse mat daro. He was saying, we will together build a new India, which will be economically outward looking, that will use the best resource of science and technology, that will give women and working classes equal rights, and we will all do it together. You know, again, there are many bits about Nehru. Again, one I want to briefly dispel in your show. There is a myth spread obviously by Sanghis that he only knew English and did not know Hindustani. मैं हमारे मित्रों से ये कहता हूँ कि आप YouTube में जाइए और आप वहाँ देखिए जवाहरलाल जी के स्वतंत्रता दिवस पे उनके भाषण. Every 15th August he would give a talk from Lal Killa. Listen to his talks, Independence Day speeches 48, 49, 50. And a wonderful Hindustani. It is not a heavily Sanskritized, dull, turgid prose. बस आम आदमियों के लिए हम सब समझ सकते हैं. जहाँ से हम तमिलनाडु का नागरिक भी वो समझ पाएगा. मैं इतना कहूँ 50% तो समझ पाएगा. And there he is talking about, you know, the kind of India we need to build. And the best education to, I would say in some ways, to Nehru's inclusive, pluralistic, humanistic philosophy and his vision for the India he wanted to create are those speeches in Hindi and Hindustani, and not really the, you know, the massive tomes he wrote or whatever he did in English. Now, I mean, it's a long story. I tell some of this in India After Gandhi, that to understand why we have departed so much from Nehru's vision, it's not enough to point a finger at Modi or the BJP or even Lal Krishna Advani, despite the poison he set in motion with the Ram Janmabhoomi movement. It is really the failures and faults of the post-Nehru Congress, especially Indira Gandhi. You know, I think Indira Gandhi departed from the Nehru template in many ways. By creating a dynasty, which he never wanted, by centralizing the power in herself, by suppressing the press, by wanting the Supreme Court and the bureaucracy not to be impartial, not to follow the constitution, but to do what she ordered them to, which is why I have called Narendra Modi Indira Gandhi on steroids. Yeah, I mean, he has used her methods to subordinate and capture institutions even more ruthlessly. And of course, he has a dark element Indira didn't. Indira was dynastic. Indira was authoritarian. But she was not communal. And that's one reason, of course, she died, because she'd been told not to keep sick bodyguards. She died. But I think that is, you know, I think Nehru would have been appalled. He would have been horrified to see what the Modi regime is doing to our country. But he would have been disappointed, not horrified, disappointed that the party he loved and served is in the hands of his illegitimate hands of his incompetent biological descendants. So I think that, you know, I have courted unpopularity by saying this, you know, because critics of Modi and the current regime think we're all on the same side. You can't say this. But these are all part of why, the RSS and Modi have become so influential. And we must understand it. If we want to transcend and overcome it, we can't provide a simple one-line answer. He's like Hitler, bas itna kafi hai. Aur hum samajh gaye.
I don't think the Prime Minister Modi has ever criticized Indira Gandhi the way he's criticized Nehru. Because probably...
Absolutely.
Yeah, probably.
He's obsessed with Nehru.
He's obsessed with Nehru, and people say Nehru was dynastic, and I don't think, except for the Maharashtra leader Sharad Pawar, I can't think of another leader who's had one biological daughter and stopped there. Can you?
You're right when you say only Sharad Pawar has stopped at one. Before Indira Gandhi, there was no family politics.
Yeah.
So I wrote a column about a year ago, and you know, when you do shows, Kunal, so you know that sometimes you think this is my best show, और लोगों को पसंद नहीं आता. And sometimes you think, यार मैं तो रात को मैं सोया नहीं, you know, I had a fight with my wife, and my show was horrible and everyone loved it, right? So a writer has the same experience. So sometimes you write a column you think is really original, or it just dies. I wrote a piece where I said that part of the degradation of Indian democracy is that we have only two kinds of political parties in India: personality cults and family firms.
Yeah.
You know, There's a cult of Modi, but there's also the cult of Kejriwal. There's also the cult, was the cult, or still is the cult of Mamta Banerjee, right? And of course, otherwise, they are family firms. Now there's the cult of Vijay in Tamil Nadu. Well, and of course, most mature democracies are not like that, right? So I think what Indira Gandhi did was to she started both the cult of personality and the family firm. Indira is India, India is Indira. If you read Nehru's autobiography, he read his discovery of India, you see how he talks about his colleagues. And even afterwards, if you read his writing in the 50s and 60s, when he writes about Patel or Pant or, Rajaji, he recognizes them as equals. And Gandhiji, of course, he revered. With Indira and Modi, it is only them. Also, so I think this is part of her legacy, that she set in motion the creation of personality cults and family firms. And I mean, there were other things she did that were admirable. She supported science, which Modi doesn't. She was a very brave war leader in the crisis of 1971, and Modi is an absolute coward. And she helped consolidate the gains made by Shastri in furthering the Green Revolution and making us self-sufficient in food.
Also, she had a very liberal point of view towards the arts and cinema.
Amazing. Again, so to nuance what I've said about Indira Gandhi, and again, if I may go off on a very brief digression.
Absolutely.
In 1970 or 71, when I was working on India After Gandhi, there was lots of stuff in the archives which I couldn't use in my book. And there was a lovely episode, since you mentioned arts and arts and culture, and you are a person in the arts, you're an entertainer. Ritvik Ghatak was recommended for the Padma Shri, and the award was approved but not finally approved. Prime Minister का हस्ताक्षर उसमें नहीं आया था. तो some angry congressman from Bengal complained to 69 or something, and the Naxalites went to who hated Gandhi and said, "You have to criticize Gandhi." They went and threatened Ritvik Ghatak, and he said, "Oi Shala Gandhi, oi Shuar ka bacha." Okay, okay, this came out, and there was a letter written by all the top bureaucrats saying, "We have to rescind the award. He has humiliated and insulted the father of the nation." And Indira Gandhi wrote in the file, "He's an artist. We're not ordering him what he said about Gandhiji. No, honoring him for his films." Right. So I think that, of course, at the festivals of India, which Indian crafts, when I talked about the Sangees having no appreciation of the glories of our pre-Islamic culture, craft and art be one of them. And Indira Gandhi, the way she showcased them through designers in the Festival of India. So all that notwithstanding, in political terms, autocracy and realistic politics, she started, and of course now it's gone much further.
There is also a myth that Congress is always giving up on their Hindu roots, and they're not Hindu enough. Gandhi did speak about Ram Rajya quite often. And what do you think is the difference between Gandhi's Ram Rajya and RSS's Hindu Rashtra?
I mean, Gandhi used it metaphorically. I mean, and India's Ram Rajya, there would be no discrimination. I mean, as I see it. And if you look at his practice, if you look at his lifelong campaign to bring women into public life, if you understand how Sarojini Naidu became president of the Indian National Congress in 1925, when there were no women in leadership roles in any major Western political party. If you look at, of course, the fact that he lived and died for Hindu-Muslim harmony. If you look at his calling untouchability a sin in 1920 and saying the Hindus who practice untouchability are the general dyers of Hinduism immediately after the Jallianwala Bagh. So for him, it was non-discrimination. It was a Ram Rajya would be an ideal society in which there would be no discrimination according to these any of these criteria, social or cultural or economic criteria. And the phrase has a Hindu ring, and maybe he shouldn't have used that phrase. It came, he was a devotee of Ram. He died with the words "Hey Ram" on his lips. It is argued, and it is possible that Jinnah's followers were turned away by this and worried about what would happen when India became independent. And Gandhi in 1938 and 39 is saying Ram Rajya, and once we get that utterance may have had some unfortunate backlashes and consequences. But if you look at the context of what he practiced and said, his Ram Rajya would be one that stood for non-discrimination on grounds of, as I repeat, religion, language, gender, region, caste.
And RSS is totally opposite.
Totally opposite.
There's one thing that Hindus are missing out on, where that what do the Hindus get in the Hindu Rashtra? What does a Hindu that does not belong to the upper caste, that does not belong to the business class, that does not belong to the predominant male gender, what does a Hindu Rashtra have in store for them as per the writings of the RSS?
It has submission. I mean, obviously, greater submission for the Muslims, and but for the Hindu woman, for the low caste, it would have submission, also a level of submission. You talked about what would a book India after Modi look like?
Look like, yeah.
Okay. Now, as I said, it may be premature to judge it, but we have had 12 years of Modi here. We've had another 13 years of him in Gujarat. Now we can see some of the cumulative consequences of what he's done. One is he has certainly slowed down, not completely stalled, but slowed down our economic progress. You know, that's very clear from objective data by economists, not Sarkari data, which is often cooked. Part of it is because to win elections, he has to depend on a few underhand means and the support of a few crony capitalists. A former chief economic advisor has said that India practices the 2A model of stigmatized capitalism. Now, all your viewers know who are the 2As.
Yeah.
I took it to a very upright corporate director I knew, one of the most celebrated corporate directors of really a pillar of Indian industry, now retired. And he said, actually, there are 5. And there are 2As, there is a T, and there's a J and an M. So he said, 5 hai. Somebody else will say, 5 नहीं है, 7 है, 10 है. But उतना ही है. So the deepening of the Indian middle class and the entrepreneurial sector. You know, the generation of jobs has been undermined by Modi. Of course, the social polarization to make people insecure and frightened. Who knows what the consequences would be? And these are, 200 million of our fellow citizens. To destroy institutions, to rid courts and the civil service and investigative agencies, regulatory bodies of their impartiality. What consequences it will have even for the economy. And of course, to lower our standing in the world. But if you think of how many friends does India have?
Yeah.
मैं कहूँगा 3 हैं.
Yeah.
And ironically, 2 are Muslim. One is Taliban in Afghanistan because they hate Pakistan.
Yeah.
One is UAE because they flatter Modi and we depend on remittances.
Yeah.
और एक है Israel वो भी जब तक नेता ना हो बस, So actually we are close to being a visual nobody. I mean, the fact that it was Pakistan that was playing a role in trying, maybe without success, but it was the anointed mediator in one of the biggest global crises in the last 4 or 5 decades, tells you where we are. I mean, if you read the press, when they talk, we said Modi boasted and his acolytes boasted that we will be rival China. And there was talk about China +1. But what is the +1? It is Vietnam, it is Taiwan, it is Singapore, it is Thailand, it is Malaysia, and it is never us. So what, apart from, the kind of, let's say, apart from the cultural side, that only a certain religion is privileged and men within that religion are privileged, there's also the economic consequences and institutional consequences for the future of Indians. I mean, today I was reading a report about, industrial workers are leaving their jobs. They can't survive in the cities. They're going back to their villages. And Modi is model for winning elections. Now, having made all these criticisms of Modi, I must at the same time acknowledge that Modi and Shah are brilliant political operators. They're diabolical, they're malevolent, but they're brilliant. So what is their modus operandi for winning power and staying in power? It is constitute a consolidated Hindu vote bank. If you win 60% of the Hindu vote, you're very likely to win the election.
Yeah.
And then keep the electorate contented with handouts. Through digital transfer, 2,000 rupees, 4,000 rupees, bas itna kafi hai, nothing else. We can't give you good schools, good hospitals, good roads, let alone dignified jobs, let alone a standing of your country in the world. We can save you from starvation and privation, and we can give you this vicarious pride that we are better than Muslims. Ignore, or nothing else they can offer. But for the time being, unless the opposition can offer a better alternative, a more credible leadership, ideally a new leadership, that's what we are stuck with.
The opposition or many people who do not support this polarization in politics, they often say that with these kind of compromised institutions, lack of supply of any sort of resource, and then how does an opposition stitch something together, and how do we reverse this polarization that's kind of gone through the entire mainstream media into the minds of people, especially places like Bengal, Kerala being polarized by religion, a first elected communist government being polarized with religion. It's quite a
I don't discount that. I agree with you, Kunal. I mean, the hurdles are enormous. You know, in money, organization, compromised institutions. The election commission being the latest to completely succumb and become an arm of the state. The judiciary, dangerously so. You know, I wrote a piece in the Indian Express 3 years ago, maybe 3.5 years ago, where I said, if the Supreme Court continues to be so pro-government, it may be known as a collaborationist court. Now, I may have to drop that may right now. Okay, all that may be true. But if you look at, you know, I can't write a prescription for the opposition to beat Modi. But as a person who studies history, who looks around the world, I can instance 3 recent examples of opposition politicians who faced enormous odds that looked insuperable. One is Zoran Mamdani in New York.
absolutely
Okay, against not just the money bags, but even the machine of the Democratic Party. A second would be the new leader of Hungary, Magyar, where Orban had captured, consolidated, compromised, corrupted institutions, maybe even more than Modi. Right. The third would be Vijay in Tamil Nadu, who has defeated both the Dravidian parties who were there forever, for 60 years. Now, what do these 3 people have in common? I think the key thing they have in common is that they are new faces.
and the youth is with them.
Yeah, the youth is with them, but they are new faces. They may not deliver the hope, but they're not the same tired old faces.
So, but these things, I mean, New York is the most diverse place, I think, on the planet. But at the same time, these are small incubation.
I agree. India is a much larger experiment.
Yeah.
It is like, I mean, the only comparable case would be, we are not, you know, Putin, Russia is a very large country, and Putin is a kind of also a prototype of a Modi, Orban kind of leader. But, you know, Indira Gandhi looked impregnable. I mean, as I said, I grew up at that time. She looked impregnable. And again, there you had not a young man, an old man, JP, who had shining integrity and credibility and had not been in politics. I mean, in 1948, Nehru told him, join the cabinet and you will essentially, he did not say so explicitly, but since Patel was much older than Nehru, essentially said, you will be my number 2 and maybe after I go by number 1. Now, JP had that aura of integrity, authenticity, credibility. So even if I look at that, of course, there are other things. I think Indira Gandhi was also undone by the oil shock of 1973 and by overreach. So, I mean, she looked...
I don't have any information on the oil shock of 73.
Because it was a big, you know, the OPEC countries got together, the price of oil grew, massively increased, and that led to economic instability and disturbance. And in 1974, when the JP movement started, so remember, Indira Gandhi splits the Congress Party, to give a very brief history. She splits the Congress Party in 1969. In 1970, she nationalized the banks and abolished the princely purses, presents her as a savior of the poor. In 1971, she wins the election by thumping majority in the beginning of the year, liberates Bangladesh at the end of the year. In 1972, she wins every state election. And only Tamil Nadu is outside her purview, and Gujarat briefly. So now there are 6 or 7 states outside Modi's purview, right? So she looked absolutely impregnable. I mean, she had won a war, you know. I mean, Modi's war is only against his section of his fellow citizens. He's not capable of courageous of taking on someone outside.
Or in the Battle of PVR.
On the Battle of PVR, that's right. So I think she looked, I mean, no one thought. And then it happened.
But there was a free and fair media.
No, she controlled the media totally. There could have been no Kunal Kamra or Ram Guha during the emergency. Let me tell you that.
Absolutely,
So she controlled the media totally. What she did not have was the organizational structure and ideological commitment of the RSS. Now, let me say something again, in fairness, since I have criticized the current Congress party. I met Rahul Gandhi. I've had a long conversation with him, a long leisurely lunch in Delhi. I've also exchanged letters with him. He's a decent man. When I think of Modi and I think of Rahul, I'm reminded of the lines of the great Irish poet W.B. Yeats, which is the best lack all conviction, the worst are full of passionate intensity. So that is the RSS. They're the worst, but they are full of passionate intensity. So yes, I mean that is something, the bulwark, the organizational, you could say even the ideological military force, the battalions of the RSS, Indira Gandhi didn't have, who shared her ideology or her personality cult. I mean, they were craven and sycophantic up to a point, but then they deserted, like the Mamta's followers will now desert and join the BJP. But she looked impregnable. Orban looked impregnable. No one thought Orban would lose. So I think
Just like Netanyahu does right now.
yeah, just Netanyahu does now. But India is much larger, and more importantly, even if Modi and Shah go, as I hope they will, the poison and the hatred and the institutional decay they have left behind will outlive their period in power. And that is what we need to worry about. People like me who have children and will have grandchildren and so on, young people like you, that's not what we need to worry about.
I mean, it took me a long time to kind of figure out that maybe a stitch in politics without the Congress against this regime seems to be impossible, and more
I agree.
impossible with every passing.
I agree without the Congress,
Yeah.
but a Congress not led by the Gandhis. The Bharat Jodo Yatra gave Rahul credibility. The first time actually he mingled with the masses and did hard work. After the 2024 elections, a young congressman whom I shall name off the record, whom you probably know, wonderful idealistic young man who is a legislator, not in my state, somewhere else, an old acquaintance of mine, came to meet me and said, give me 5 pieces of advice that I can pass on to Rahul Gandhi. I'm close to him. I said, only one. I don't have 5. I have one piece of advice. I don't know whether you can pass it on to him. If you pass it on to him, I don't think he'll accept it. But it's just this. His sister should not become an MP from Wayanad. That's all. That's the only piece of advice I have, because what this yatra did was to de-entitle him. He was no longer seen as a spoilt Dinesh. But lo and behold, she is coming. And she, after she became an MP, she said, we are uniting the country, my brother in the north and I in the south, on the 75th anniversary of the promulgation of the Constitution in November 2025. She was the lead speaker for the Congress, the granddaughter of Indira Gandhi. Now the optics are all wrong. And so I would say, the Congress is in power now in 4 states. And at Jharkhand, where it's a coalition partner, 5. But this is, I tell you, and I feel sorry for Rahul Gandhi. He's a decent man, not suited to this profession. He should have been somewhere else. He'd have been happier doing something else. He's been dragged in because of the burden of responsibility and what he's been told to do. But, from personal experience, I can say, Sharif Admi. I wouldn't say, had I known, but and his sister carries an even greater burden of entitlement. She's a fantastic speaker. She speaks better Hindi than him. But can she rebuild the party? Can she recreate the Congress organization? The one election she was in charge of in UP in, when was it, 2022, I think. They got 2% of the vote. She even chose the candidate, helped choose the candidates in Assam this time. Look at what's happening in Kerala. I mean, there's an outstanding local leader who should be chief minister. I still hope tomorrow he'll wake up and find that he's chief minister. But the high command is messing around. Why did Karnataka defeat BJP in 2023? Because we had 2 local leaders, who were credible. We didn't put and they only had Modi and Shah. Now, of course, these local leaders may have discredited themselves the last 3 years, but you need a new face. I mean, you need a Magyar, a Mamdani, and a Vijay. And that is what JP was. We had a squabbling opposition. No one would have united to defeat Indira, but JP provided that clue.
JP rejected to be a lot of things while leading movements like taking cushioned ministries or being the number 2 in Nehru. Here, it doesn't seem like anybody would let go of any opportunity. So, you've seen the emergency, and the people reversed the emergency by voting Indira Gandhi out and then accepting a mistake, then voting her back in also. What sort of a scenario do you see to reverse this polarization?
I can't predict.
Yeah.
मैं इतिहासकार हूँ, ज्योतिष नहीं. मैं पीछे देखता हूँ आज भी देखता हूँ, लेकिन कल के बारे में मैंने कुछ कह नहीं सकता हूँ. So but I just say that if I look around me, I've given you some examples of
Absolutely.
counterintuitive victories of recent insurgent figures who won democratically without an organization, without funds. I mean, they may have collected some funds along the way, and against a massive state machinery. So it can happen. It can happen. You know, I would say I am depressed but not despairing. I've seen things happen. You know, you and I have known many remarkable Indians who are fighting the good fight.
Absolutely.
Okay, and we must continue fighting the good fight. And what vehicle, what organizational vehicle, what leader will eventually, you know, take this forward? We can't say.
Even a movement that kind of gave us the Aam Aadmi Party, it was just the decay of Aam Aadmi Party just happened almost immediately.
But you know,
When Yogendra Yadav and Prashant Bhushan kind of.
so I think there were two, again, that's a very good point. I mean, all of us had hopes. In fact, I wrote a column about 10 years ago. I had a dream that I was joining the Aam Aadmi Party and fighting an election from my native Dehradun. Because, I mean, I'm a totally non-party person, but it enthused me and it enthused all of us. Now, what happened? Of course, Kejriwal made it a cult, you know, and no one else could, of any prominence, could ever flourish in the party. But the BJP recognized it as a greater threat from the Congress in North India. They went systematically to ruthlessly crush it, not only through these cases, but after they won in the Aam Aadmi Party won in Delhi in 2022, the centre systematically, Amit Shah as Home Minister, systematically made sure they wouldn't function because they knew what is the difference between Kejriwal and Rahul Gandhi. He's self-made.
Yeah.
He's on his own got through IIT and civil service.
Yeah.
He's cunning, shrewd.
Yeah.
He's a fluent Hindi speaker.
Yeah.
They saw a danger.
And he can easily be non-secular.
That he didn't show then. That has become later. So, of course, he shows her. But they saw that, again, you know, it was an insurgent party with a flawed leadership, with a leader who could not work with others, unlike, you know, Magyar or, we'll have to see about Vijay, but and Mamdani certainly has shown that he can draw people together. You know, here it was just, but the BJP saw the danger. I mean, they knew that this is a threat in North India, and we don't want to see its space too.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, coming to the reversing of this polarization, we all see people around us who are doing great work, whether it's in like the civil society or with the constitution. But there is still a massive resistance to actively join politics. And that is because of the kind of machinery that you are up against. So if you have resource, you are very much want to not join politics. And if you don't have the resource, nobody wants you in politics. So how do you beat that sort of a...
This is when someone like Yogendra, who's deeply involved with parties, can answer this.
Yeah.
It is a hurdle. You know, there's a massive barrier to entry. I mean, Aam Aadmi Party did it without money.
Yeah.
And then they went against all their funders.
Yeah.
You know, they went, the small business bill too, but they went against them. So that worry is certainly there. And, you know, here, you know, the industrialists of Bangalore are completely silent.
Yeah.
You know, I've tried to, when there have been communal kind of violence against Muslims, I have tried to say to some of them that sign a petition collectively. If 18 of you or 16 of you say communal harmony is good for economic growth and for the image of Bangalore. But itna hi kaho. No individual, no party, no sangh, no organized. And I've actually
Or even support the constitution. No?
And I've even actually drafted letters where they've almost signed and then one or two of them backed off. Right. And I've said it's a collective action problem. So one will not sign, but 8 or 10 or 12 can, you know.
Yeah.
So I think showing some, shall we say, spirit. It's the most successful who have the least spirit, who are the most sycophantic, you know, which is the film stars, the cricketers, and the industrialists. In America, you have a George Soros. Many others may have succumbed. You have, you know, Meryl Streep and you have, of course, sports people, legion, you know, famous sports who've taken the knee. Muhammad Ali long ago, but more recently also. So I think, you know, this is something where Bishan Bedi was the last Indian cricketer, with a famous Indian cricketer with a spine. There's some less known Indian cricketers who will speak up, and I salute them for that. But they, I mean, Bishan Bedi was of the level of Gavaskar and Tendulkar, and he stood up. I mean, he was really a model of how a person should use their success and their fame in a manner consistent with courage and integrity.
Yeah, yeah. No, now that we're on cricket, there is like this communalization of cricket, and I think one of your books you talk about how Gandhi used cricket as a unifying device while the Islam Gymkhana used to play against the Catholic Gymkhana
And the Hindu Gymkhana.
and the Hindu Gymkhana, etc. So, can you take us through the journey of what we did with cricket pre-independence and what has happened to cricket over the last 10 years?
I mean, the book you refer to
Yeah.
actually talks about Hindu-Muslim rivalry and then cooperation cricket field, but its real hero is a family of Dalit cricketers called the Palwakar cricketers, and how they breached the caste barrier to achieve distinction in the sporting field before Robinson became, long before Jackie Robinson became the first black player to play Major League Baseball. But after independence, I mean, the 50s, 60s, 70s, I mean, you could have had a time. I mean, the first Indian captain who transcended regionalism was Mansoor Ali Khan Pataudi, who told his players, "You're not from Bombay, you're not from Delhi, you're not from Hyderabad, you're from India." Right. Now, and this kind of continued essentially till, I would say, the last 8 or 10 years. I mean, after the BJP took over the BCCI, you always had politicians in the BCCI. You had Madhav Rao Sindhya, you had Sharad Pawar. Now you have them indirectly. Essentially, it's as Sharda Ugra and others have shown in their writings, the BCCI is an arm of the BJP. And this has happened at a time when the audience of cricket has grown because of the IPL. And of course, the communalization of the Hindu mind has also grown. So I don't watch IPL. I don't follow it for aesthetic reasons. I mean, I find it a vulgar, debased form of the cricket I love, right? But the stories you were telling me about, the song being played in the IPL, what I read about how, how some of the Indian cricketers who happen to be Muslim have been treated, I think it is deeply worrying. And actually it is, again, as I said, we claim to be a Vishwa Guru. We are actually close to being a Vishwa nobody when it comes to influencing international affairs, international economy, trade deals, conflict and peace, international negotiations and so on. The one place where we are significant is cricket, where we are a Vishwa bully. We use the money of the IPL to bully everyone else into submission. And the IPL has become a kind of a mirror image of the ugly India, how ugly India has become, how debased, vulgar, communal. And it's certainly put me off cricket totally.
The kind of power that we had with cricket, we probably started losing it the first time we decided to stop touring Pakistan.
Yes.
And this happened probably around 2007-8.
Yeah.
When 26/11 kind of took place.
More recently, the way we behaved with Bangladesh. Just to win a West Bengal election, we banned Mustafizur from, we mean the BJP banned Mustafizur from playing, in the IPL, and poisoned our relations with the neighboring country. I mean, it's just horrible.
Yeah, one of my friend, he was kind of telling me that, you kind of bulldoze Bangladesh out of a World Cup. At a time where they are going through so much and they don't even have sport to kind of celebrate that odd victory against, say, a Pakistan, Sri Lanka, New Zealand, Australia, India, and these are all sides that Bangladesh has beaten. So they are not a nobody in cricket like Nepal.
They're not. Absolutely.
They're qualified to play test, and you kick them out of a T20 World Cup. How fair is that?
To destroy relationships with our neighbors, on this kind of basis, it's like. This whole idea of Vishwa Guru again, we have no soft power. Cricket was our soft power because we used it creatively and constructively in our neighborhood. Our music was our soft power, but we don't. Our Bollywood has become just a poison pit. Once upon a time, our films were watched all over the world. Our literature was, appreciated all over the world. You could say the tunnel vision of the RSS and of their beliefs has made us a smaller country. Apart from all the hate and the filth and the polarization, it's also made us a smaller country.
The BJP has kind of gotten away with co-opting leaders from the freedom struggle, and especially leaders who were so vehemently against the RSS, like Patel and Bose. Like any of Bose's works, if you kind of see, he was never for this one nation, one language.
So Bose, if you see, is Indian National Army. What is it called in Hindustani? Azad Hind Fauj. 3 words of Urdu origin. Not Swatantra Bharat Sena. Okay. Now, Hindu-Muslim harmony was a core aspect of his philosophy. He also revered Mahatma Gandhi. They disagreed on the use of violence, which is why he left. But because he disagreed with Gandhi on violence, and because he can be shown as the macho, masculine guy in uniform, they have, cynically appropriated him. But he would have been horrified. I mean, if you look at, I said, the Indian National Army was Azad Hind Fauj, not Swatantra Bharat Sena. But if you look at the brigades that he started, they were called Gandhi Brigade, Nehru Brigade, Azad Brigade. After three people in the Congress, he considered his comrades. And the fourth, he yielded to his chamchas and called it Bose Brigade after himself. But Gandhi, Nehru, and Azad, the preeminent Muslim leader of the Congress, I suppose in this world of WhatsApp history, they can get away with anything. He vehemently detested and opposed the RSS. Patel is more complicated. Now, what they have done is created a rivalry between Nehru and Patel. Now, actually, it was not a rivalry. It was a biradari. It was a friendship, a camaraderie. They had disagreements. Gandhiji died. They wrote these most moving letters to one another saying, Gandhiji is gone. Our disagreements are not important. We have to work jointly in the country's effort. What did they do? They united India together. How did they unite it? Patel did it territorially by bringing the princely states on board. Nehru did it emotionally by saying Muslims, South Indians, women are all part of our nation. Minorities are all part of our nation. And I've described this in my book, India After Gandhi. If you don't want to read India After Gandhi, please read Rajmohan Gandhi's book on Patel, which is the best book on Patel, which describes this beautifully. Now, how did the BJP get away with this? Gopal Krishna Gandhi, who's one of our most respected commentators and former diplomat, civil servant, says the Congress disowned Patel, so the BJP was able to misown Patel. So after Indira Gandhi took over the party, it became a family firm. Sonia Gandhi has no place for anyone except Indira Gandhi, Nehru, Rajiv Gandhi. The only exception is for Mahatma Gandhi. He was just lying there waiting to be misappropriated. But if you look at what they have done, I mean, to go back to our conversation of what, the so-called, the Jugalbandi of today, which is as destructive as that of Nehru and Patel was constructive. What they have done, as part of the appropriation of Patel, they erected a Statue of Unity. In one day, I hope some enlightened government, memorializing history properly, will erect a statue of disunity for our two current guys. Absolutely. Because they have done, Nehru and Patel united India. Territorially, emotionally, constitutionally, built a kind of united nation and a democracy, brought people on board, and these people have, poisoned and polarized us. But it is absolutely brazen.
A lot of talk about decentralization has happened after the kind of hijack of institutions that these guys have done. How do you see that? Because like the media was compromised, the judiciary was hijacked during the emergency. So how was that undone?
I think there are 2 or 3 ways it was undone. One is, actually Indira Gandhi felt remorse at what she'd done. One of the great unanswered questions of the emergency is that no one knows why she decided to hold elections. I have a theory, which I've expressed in my book, that Western critics who knew Jawaharlal Nehru wrote to her saying, look at your father's democratic legacy, what you're doing, people who are friends of Nehru. But what we do know is the only decision she took between June 1975 and January 1977, where she did not tell Sanjay Gandhi. She just went on the radio, it was announced. He heard it on the radio, was shocked because he didn't want it. So she felt remorse. She was capable of recognizing her mistakes, of feeling remorse. And when the emergency area amendments were undone by Morarji Desai, who was Prime Minister, and Shanti Bhushan, who was Law Minister, she voted to undo them. So she realized that she had gone too far in undermining the basis of constitutional democracy in India. And the second reason is, of course, we had coalition governments after 1989. I think coalition governments lead to a flourishing of institutions and federalism. They're also much better for administration in Delhi because you get voices from everywhere, north, south, east, west. Right? I mean, it's not an accident that our best periods of economic growth were under Narasimha Rao, Manmohan Singh, and Vajpayee in between. Right? So, giving a part. Unfortunately, what happened in 2024, or there were hopes that because they are what is it, 40 seats, 30 seats short of a majority, they'll be tamed. But they've been able to,
Quite the
manage
reverse.
things in Andhra and Bihar so cynically that hasn't happened. For a leader to feel remorse, because Indira Gandhi knew that she had transgressed, that she had betrayed the best values of Indian nationalism and constitutionalism. Jagjivan Ram left her and then joined the opposition. So it'll have people in the BJP. I mean, that there cannot be no one in the cabinet who has no conscience, who doesn't know the horrific things they're doing. I mean, but they're silent because they want to share a piece of power, they want to be in the limelight, they want to have ministerial perks.
Or they are compromised in ways that.
Or sometimes they're compromised in ways in which these guys know. I mean, the file that is kept on them by number 1 and number 2. So perhaps all of that, yeah.
So thank you so much for giving us your time. We had a great conversation.
Thank you, Kunal.
Thank you.
Hey, shut up, ya Kunal.
Shut up, ya Kunal.
Hey, Kunal, chupna.
Shut up, ya Kunal.
Hey, shut up, ya Kunal.
Ya Kunal.